Is Kaiju number 8 a good replacement for Attack on Titan? Truth be told, I think that's really going to vary depending on what you watch Attack on Titan for. But I'll give you the rundown and my opinion on it, so let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, please like and subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you more anime content. So if you're familiar with one series but not another, let's go ahead and break them down quickly. Attack on Titan is arguably the more famous because of its massively popular anime, but obviously Attack on Titan set in a world that's kind of similar to our own but also very different. People live inside three massive walls. Those walls are constantly under siege from massive giants that tend to eat people. The series follows Eren Yeager as he undergoes, a large set of events in his life, going outside the walls and learning about different conspiracies within them. There's a lot within that series, despite the fact the plot is actually simpler when you talk about it all in order. But since this isn't an Attack on Titan exclusive episode, that's the best I can do right now. Now, Kaiju number 8 is set in a just adjacent to our world kind of setting. It's got Japan, it's got the United States, it's got everything in it, but it has Kaiju. It's kind of like Pacific Rim. It's like our world with just the interesting bit that there are giant monsters that tend to pop up and rampage around. There's obviously different defense forces that deal with Kaiju. Obviously, since the series is set in Japan, we get to watch how their Kaiju defense force works. This series, also deals with the fact that there's a character, much like in Attack on Titan, who gets a hold of the power of these monsters and attempts to use it to defend humanity. With that basic rundown, there are some differences, similarities, and important distinctions you should know about. I think one of the key things to have in mind is that, Attack on Titan is an MA-rated series, even, 17 plus in manga format, whereas Kaiju number 8 is teen. It's not, so there are people that die in Attack on Titan, they die on screen. When people die in Kaiju number 8, more often than not, they die off screen. Or they will die in a somewhat violent, but not the most violent manner. So if you didn't like Attack on Titan because of that necessarily violent content, but you still kind of like the idea of giant monsters battling, this might float more in your direction in general. If you just like the idea of watching monsters fight, you'll still probably get your itch scratched from this. I mean, Kaiju number 8 himself has really cool moves. I would argue that in some ways, Kaiju number 8 is cooler than the Attack Titan because the Attack Titan looks phenomenal. And in the hands of anybody else, it would have been a really proficient fighting machine. But, Eren is not a proficient person for like a good majority of Attack on Titan. So, in, response, the character also noting the differences here, Kafka Hinabo, who is in Kaiju number 8, the main character, is a man. Eren is a kid when that series starts. In Kaiju number 8 is a man. I do think it's really funny that I talk about the fact that if they're split by age category, you think the one with the main character that would be a man would be the MA one, but it's not. It's the teen-rated one. But there is a difference in that. Kafka is not necessarily, a full military man. He has attempted to go in for their defense force, but he keeps getting rejected because he doesn't quite meet the qualifications. And then, through circumstances and hijinks, he will get a hold of the power of a kaiju. He is better with it than Attack on Titan. So if you were bothered at any points during Attack on Titan with the lack of proficiency of the majority of characters, because let's be honest, unless you were standing Levi, you weren't really getting a lot on the proficiency score. That's not an issue with Kaiju number 8. A vast majority of characters in Kaiju number 8 come off as much more competent than characters in Attack on Titan. If you were hoping for more deeper emotions, on the other hand, I would definitely say Attack on Titan hits that harder. I don't think that it always hits it in the most concise way, but it hits that a lot harder. So if you're into more emotional storytelling, you probably won't get as much out of Kaiju number 8 as you did with Attack on Titan. That's not to say there's no emotion. It just does not reach quite as deeply. Nor is there a lot of world building. I mean, we can talk about the fact that with Attack on Titan, it is a very simple story in retrospect, but the world building wasn't. There was a lot of world building in Attack on Titan, and that was a big aspect for a lot of people. They loved learning different pieces about the world. There are pieces of world building in, Kaiju number 8, particularly with the history of kaijus emerging and how people tried to deal with them before guns were even invented. But it's not, because the world is so similar to ours, and it doesn't go all out on the concept of our world would evolve entirely differently if that did start happening. It's just our world, but there's monsters. it's not the deepest world building exploration. In total, I think that if you're looking for a giant monster fighting replacement, it is a good replacement. It won't hit all of the score marks for Attack on Titan, and so if you're an Attack on Titan fan, I think you should go into it. You should try it. You'd be like, okay, so this is kind of cool. It's like Pacific Rim plus. But if you're looking for a straight up full replacement for Attack on Titan, I wouldn't look for it in the emotional writing aspects of it. So why don't you guys let me know if you've read, the Kaiju number 8 manga. Why don't you drop your opinions for people who haven't read it yet and what they can expect for the anime. Trying to keep this spoiler free as much as possible, so just bear that in mind. And drop your thoughts as well as how it might relate to Attack on Titan. They're really two different subjects, but a lot of people tend to lump them together because of the fact that it's giant monsters. So let's discuss.